Welcome to the Friday Shoot-Around, your K-State basketball show. Presented by Booth Creek Wagyu. Now let's go to the Flint Hills, home of GPC's hidden studio. Here's your host, Ryan Gilbert.
7 games remaining on the schedule in Big 12 play for Kansas State. One game that we'll break down here on the Friday Shoot-Around, a road loss at BYU. Wildcats did not have a midweek game this week, so just one game to break down here with Clint. Before we get things going, though, a quick message from our sponsor, Booth Creek Wagyu.
From the tailgate to the back deck, remember to elevate your grilling this season with our friends from Booth Creek Wagyu. Their ranch is located just north of Manhattan and proudly raises authentic Wagyu beef from farm to table. Visit their retail locations in Manhattan and Overland Park or online at boothcreekwagyu.com.
Clint, I don't think this is the first time we've had a game that maybe you don't love to talk about and break down, but that's what we're here for. We've got to talk about what went wrong for Kansas State in Provo all the way back on Saturday, if you can think back to that far. But Clint, just your thoughts from that loss. K-State had a nice start. Day-to Ames got going, but then things fell apart pretty quickly for the Wildcats.
Yeah. Like I said, Day-to Ames, he came out and he was obviously ready to play, and it was good to see him kind of kickstart us offensively, be able to shoot the basketball and also get some layups. But then I thought, defensively, I think we had some breakdowns in transition, allowed BYU to kind of get out and run, and they didn't make many outside shots in the first half, which is what they're known for. I mean, they have multiple guys we talked about that can make shots. I think maybe one of their big guys kind of got them started by making an outside one. And then obviously second half, that they were able to make shots. So, we're playing catch up. And even when we were getting ourselves back in the game, they kind of held us at bay by making the right play at the right time, And so, it's a game that, I think if we shoot it a little bit better, you think about our top 2 scorers and Perry and Cam Carter, they went 1 for 14 from 3, and that, that doesn't happen a lot, and obviously we know we need them scoring the basketball and not that they didn't do a good job doing that, but I know they both know they can shoot better than 1 for 14 combined. So they make a few of those, and then like I said, it could be a different basketball game, but unfortunately, it just didn't fall that way.
K-State was down by 9 at the break, and you mentioned it. BYU had only hit 2 3-pointers in that first half, and so, that's kind of your time to not build a lead, but build a lead, right? That's when you got to be up and take advantage when BYU's not doing what they do best. And obviously in the second half, we saw the Cougars start to put the ball through the net. Turnovers remain a huge issue. I'm sure we can break down that sort of aspect later on when we look at TCU, but turnovers are not going away. You look at the end of that BYU game, though. I think it was around the 7-minute mark when K-State finally started to turn things around and claw back into that game. And Drumting mentioned it on Thursday in his press conference with the media that was sort of the game plan playing against BYU. Okay, give yourself a chance late, because K-State felt, this was in their eyes, that they had a chance to maybe outlast BYU and have a little bit more strength at the end of the game. And we did see that. Jerome Tang wasn't wrong. The game plan necessarily wasn't wrong. It was just too little too late for Kansas State to come back in that one. They got it down to 2 points, right, Clint? And then, you got to commend the last 7 minutes up until about the 1 minute mark or so. And then a couple plays where, maybe it was BYU that executed well. Maybe it was K-State that made the mistakes. But at the end, K-State couldn't get over the hump, but they were there.
Yeah, and it was good to see, the last 5 minutes, we talk about how good K-State operates in overtime and working on the last 5 minutes of the game. And then obviously the last 5 minutes, we scored the ball at a very high rate. I thought we were playing a little bit faster. I think our defense kind of picked up, so we're getting stops, which allowed us, to take it was like 16-point deficit, 14-point deficit, and get right back in the game and have a chance to win in the end. But I thought there were 2 critical plays in the end where we needed to make a play, and unfortunately, BYU did a better job of making the play. One was they ran some stagger action, for Jackson Robinson, who we mentioned is one of their better players, and it's action that they ran earlier in the game 2 or 3 times, and then late in the game we got lost on it, and unfortunately he was able to knock down the three. I think Gasson kind of got wasn't aware of kind of what was happening, where he was going, unfortunately, and so that was a really big play late in the game, and then there was another one where it's a 3-point game, and then we need a stop. The clock's winding down, and we just got to communicate better. There's kind of a ball screen, and Kaluma and Cam Carter didn't communicate really well, and then it led to a wide open layup. And it's like, hey, we just need one stop here. And so that's where the communication has to be at a very high rate, and and guys have to be locked in to helping each other out so we can get that stop and give us an opportunity to go down and score it on the other end. So it's unfortunate. It's a tough. Talked about, it's a tough environment. It's tough to win on the road. Breakdowns are going to happen. You just wish that it didn't happen at the time it did.
Is that maybe a little frustrating, though, given a team that puts so much pride in those late game situations, 5 to grind? This should have been a nice opportunity maybe for K-State not to win it in regulation, but just tie it up and go to overtime and then win it there.
Yeah, it is, and especially because I thought, offensively, like I said, we were playing so well, and we were getting the stops that we needed, kind of up until that point. But it might have been, just like running out of gas, and we had to expend so much energy just to get back in the game late. And sometimes when you spend all that energy and it comes down to, a couple plays or two at the very end, guys are a little bit tired. And so it becomes a little bit harder to lock in, to talk and communicate, or to do the job that needs to be done to get the stop. And, unfortunately, if we didn't have to expend all that energy, maybe they're a little bit more aware of what's going on and able to get that stop. So, it was a good fight. It was great to see that we battled back and got back into it. But, we wish that we didn't have to get down so much to have to expend so much energy there at the end.
Is this a good example of just what it is like to play on the road? Right? I don't think, with all due respect to BYU, that's a winnable game. Just given the roster that they have, I know they're tough and physical, and they're old. They got old dudes on that team. But K-State, this one was right there for them. I think that playing on the road might have been one of the biggest reasons K-State lost.
Yeah, and as you mentioned, I mean, BYU had some, they have some veteran guys, and you could see, inside their post guys, and I kind of call it, it's kind of like, playing in a church league where you're playing with some old guys that maybe not be as athletic, but they have the footwork down, and they just kind of know how to use their body to score the basketball, and and they kind of combat all the athleticism, with their awareness, with their smarts, IQ, and in their footwork, and I think we saw some of that with BYU's guys, especially their post guys, and but it was a winnable game, and it's one in the Big 12. We're now 10th in the Big 12. That's one that I know we'll look back on and be like, man, we could have had that one, So unfortunately, we can't change the past, so we got to go look towards the future. Like I said, in the next game's TCU, and got to figure out a way to go 1-0. 1-0, protect home, and hopefully we can do that.
The one that really is going to hurt K-State on Selection Sunday, whether they're, it's a 9 or a 10 seed, or if that's on the bubble, if they're in or out, doesn't matter. They're going to look back at that Texas Tech loss on the road, up by I think 8 points with 3 minutes left. So this BYU one, that's one that you would like to have stolen on the road, but this is not the first time this has happened. Down in Lubbock, K-State's had a couple opportunities for quadrant 1 victories, and they're coming up just short, not able to execute at the end, Clint. But I want to switch gears here to the starting 5, and this is now 3 games that we've had to look at it and see how it is and how it performs. Obviously, Will McNair and David Gasson are still getting a lot of minutes, and so the overall, that pie that you like to talk about, Clint, that's not changing. People are still getting their minutes. But to come out of the gate, Day-Day Ames and Joel Colbert have now been out there for 3 straight games. How do you view that new starting 5?
Yeah, well, I think, like so the Ames came out really well against BYU. I think just he brings a lot of energy at the guard position. He's quick with the basketball, and for the most part, he makes good decisions, And so as he continues to be able to even knock down, open shots, that's really just going to help unlock, I think, other players as well. And Gasson has been great coming off the bench. I think he's maybe 3rd in the Big 12, or he's top 5 in the Big 12 in rebounding, and right at 7 a game. And so he's been active, which has been really, really good, and gives us a punch, coming off the bench. And this has linked coming off the bench, I think is really important for us. And same with McNair. He comes off and he did a good job of rebounding the basketball this last game. I think he had 10 against BYU. And so as long as those guys are coming in and producing, I think it's obviously a good situation. Now, if you get into a situation where they're not playing well off the bench, and then maybe they play better as starters, then I'm sure Coach Tang would obviously look at that. But I like the lineup. I like like I said, Data Ames just gives us another quick guard who can penetrate, get to the rim, make plays, and hopefully get us off to a fast start.
Joel Colbert, I don't think he scored a point in the last 2 games, but he's still overall. I think he maybe took a step back against BYU, but his production, his rim protection, that energy is really what you like to see from him. And then as far as Ames, let's switch gears here and just talk globally. The future of K-State basketball, is he that point guard for the future of this program, or is that a guy like David Castillo, who I know maybe could play the 1 or the 2? RJ Jones is capable of running the point as well as being a sharpshooter at the 2. So taking a step back here, just overall, where do you see that future of the point guard position next year for Kansas State?
Well, I think it's in good hands, and that's what's exciting about it. And especially as Ames is able to show that he can make shots from the outside. David coming in, David can shoot the basketball at a high clip. He can make plays. And what you're seeing with K-State and with Ames and Perry is Tang isn't he isn't concerned with starting 2 smaller guards, and so you look at next year in the future with Ames and David and Castillo and whoever else they bring in, right, and then obviously with RJ Jones and his ability to shoot the basketball and play athletically and things, and so it's in good hands. I think from a guard position. That'll be good. Probably still want to bring in 1 or 2 veteran guards that have a little bit more experience. I think that'll probably be important. But as a K-State alum, I'm excited about the future and excited about the team in general.
How much of the turnover issue for this team lies on the point guard play, bluntly put?
Well, I think there's some there, but I think across the board, we just haven't taken care of the basketball, and across the board, I think we just kind of get sloppy with it. Sometimes we press a little bit when maybe we can make the easier play, but a lot of it, some of it's self-inflicted. I think, our guys just kind of not locked into the possession, offensively, that we need to be, and you look at where we're at from a turnover perspective. I think we're 338, out of about 360 Division I teams, which that's not a good place to be, and so, we're averaging, 15, 16 turnovers a game and last in the Big 12. It's very concerning, and especially considering, teams that we're going to face, as we mentioned, TCU coming up on Saturday. They do a really good job of creating turnovers, getting out in transition, and so. At this point in time, we're where we're at in the season. I think from a turnover perspective, what we see is, we kind of, who you are now, right? I mean, we played enough games to where there's not going to be a lot of changes that are going to be made, and so, obviously we still want to take care of the basketball and emphasize that and try to cut that down. And some of the things I know Tang does in practice really emphasizes like turnover, not turning the basketball over, but we're at this part of the season where that's kind of going to be where we are. I mean, if we cut it down, it's not going to go from 16 to 8. I mean, it's going to go from 16 to 14, right? And so, we're going to have to figure out a way to make sure that those turnovers are not live ball ones and giving the other team opportunities to go score it. So hopefully we can get our defense set, which has been playing really well.
And that's the thing. I think K-State's like 9 games in a row with 14 or more turnovers or something like that. So you don't have to make wholesale changes because K-State's been in most of these games within a possession or 2 late. And so, yeah, you don't have to cut the turnovers in half. If you can get 1 or 2 of those bad plays eliminated here and there, that can be ultimately what makes the difference getting over the hump and winning these games.
Yeah, it can be. And just the timing of those turnovers can also be critical,
Right.
And so, just making sure that, most coaches, we like aggressive turnovers, right? But if someone's trying to make a play and they're aggressively going towards the rim and maybe, the ball kind of goes out of their hands or they aggressively go to the rim, they try to make a pass to the corner and it's just not, on the line as it should be, those are ones that most coaches can live with. Obviously, you don't want to do that every single time. It's just kind of the nonchalant ones that we don't like, right? When you're kind of passively dribbling the basketball, or just unsure what you're doing, and throwing the basketball into a passing lane. Those are the ones that we have to cut down, and not allow the other team to get out and go. So. We want the guys to always be aggressive and think aggressively. Especially our main guys. When you talk about Perry and Kaluma and Carter, those guys have to score, so they're going to be trying to drive the basketball and try to make plays. And unfortunately, that means they're going to turn the ball over some. Like I said, just want to make sure they're aggressive turnovers.
TCU coming up on Saturday, and then Monday, of course, is Texas on the road. We'll break down those games here after a quick break on the Friday shoot-around.
We'll be right back after these messages from our sponsors. Welcome back to the show. Let's head back to the studio.
11 a.m. We had 9 o'clock on the road at BYU. Now we've got to get up early. And I think the biggest takeaway for me was, Clint, honestly, I could never live on the East Coast. How late that game was for us in Central Time. That's an hour later if you're living over in the East Coast. But before we break down this TCU game, a quick message from our sponsor, Booth Creek Wagyu.
From the tailgate to the back deck, remember to elevate your grilling this season with our friends from Booth Creek Wagyu. Their ranch is located just north of Manhattan and proudly raises authentic Wagyu beef from farm to table. Visit their retail locations in Manhattan and Overland Park, or online at boothcreekwagyu.com.
I don't want to say this is a game that you must win, because there's still a lot of basketball left. There's a lot of quadrant 1 opportunities left. So you don't have to win this one, but you lose it, you're 5-7. This was another home game that you would have let slip away if you lose. And so this seems like a game where Kansas State, you win it. I know we've said this a couple times, but this is one of those games that you win it, you get the ball rolling. This could be one that sparks momentum heading into that latter portion of conference play.
Yeah, I agree there, but I will say it's a must-win. I think we have to protect the home court. We have to win at home against TCU. We have to come out and play well. Our guys have to be energized. This is one that like I said, we don't want to drop, because we've got to go on the road at Texas, and even though I think we can play well there, you don't want to get behind the 8 ball, and so with dropping the one at BYU, and we haven't played well on the road in the Big 12. We're 1-5, so this is one that we're going to need. We need our guys to come out and figure out a way to win, by any means necessary, whatever we have to do, lay it all on the line, go out there, play well, play hard, play together. Got to rebound the basketball, have to try to limit our turnovers to the best of our ability, especially those nonchalant ones, so we can make shots, and then guys got to be locked into making shots. It's not a game that we can go shoot 4 for 28 from 3 and expect to win. I mean, we're going to have to make some shots, and if we can do that, then then we should be sitting in the right position towards the end of the game. But I think it's one, like I said, we can't drop this one at home, especially because we haven't played well on the road, or haven't won on the road very much. And so we really do need this one.
So TCU actually commits 12.9 turnovers a game. And so they're ranked 257th in the country. But as far as forcing turnovers to the opponent, right, TCU, that's where Kansas State's going to be challenged here. They're actually number 53 in the country with a plus 2.4 turnover margin. K-State's at minus 2.8, right? That shows you how they can turn you over. Steals per game, they're 18th in the country with 9.2. K-State only gets 6.5. So that's perhaps the biggest storyline of this game, is taking care of the basketball and also forcing TCU into turnovers, because they've shown they can be prone to giving away the basketball.
Yeah, they can be, but I think on our end, we're really going to have to keep them out of transition. They're first in the country and fast break points. So that's how they get going. They like to force turnovers, get out and run, or even off of missed shots, outlet and push the basketball and try to get easy opportunities at the rim. So, if we can, like I said, not have those live ball turnovers and make them have to score the basketball through our defense, which has been really, really good. I believe number 1 ranked in 3-point field goal percentage in the Big 12, one of the top defenses in the Big 12, then I think TCU will have a hard time scoring. But if we allow them to get out in transition, allow them to push the basketball, and then they get confidence, and then they start making some shots, we can be in for a very tough game, down the stretch. So we just got to be ready. Got to be ready from the very beginning, and like I said, and hopefully defensively, if we're active, I think we can definitely turn them over and get some easy opportunities ourselves.
You talk about getting out in transition, though. Like, two can play at that game, right? Like, you go back to last season at Texas, K-State scored like 116 points in regulation because they just went up and down the court. And that was a road game. K-State was able to win. You know, I don't know. You'd have to go back and look at Texas last year, but K-State was okay with just getting up and not really setting up an offense, but just going out and scoring, getting out in transition that game. Could that be something on the table for Kansas State? Because I think when you're I think the offense has come a little ways since that little lull they had earlier about a month ago. But that's such an easy way to just steal points, right? Is to get out in transition when your offense, when your sets maybe aren't working the way you want them to get out and find an outlet pass. I'm not saying cherry pick, but if that's, we're talking about church leagues, right? Maybe steal one from those and just throw it down the court, right? Getting out in transition, two can play at that game.
Yeah, well, I'll tell you, when you have, last year you have Marquise Noel, yeah, you better not slow him down. Go,
Right.
But I think we do have guys that can get out and push it. I think, Carter has shown, he's good in open transition and getting to the rim and scoring the basketball and using his athleticism at the rim. Perry has shown that he's, a good knockdown shooter, especially in transition. If he can get the early shot. Which would be good. Obviously, Kaluma, we know he can go score at the rim, and so that could help us as well, and not have to play against their set defense if we can get out and push it early. And our bigs got to run. They got to run rim to rim and maybe put some pressure. A lot of times it gets lost in the game is. With the bigs is they run rim to rim and maybe they don't get the ball and so they might get discouraged in it. But what they don't realize is that puts pressure on the rim and flattens out the defense. And the quicker you can flatten out the defense, then it makes it easier for the guards to then penetrate, which then they can go score it or then find the big, and dump off. So, like I said, I think we can definitely take advantage of that, and hopefully we'll be looking for those opportunities.
We've done this on the show many times. When you got a 2-game stretch coming up for K-State here, do you just maybe want to go 1-1? Is that the goal? Is that what you're happy with here for Kansas State?
Well, yeah. Like I said, I think the game against TCU on Saturday is a must-win. I think we really do need it. We need to go 1-0 on that one, and then we can focus on Texas. I think Texas is a team that's beatable. I think if we go in there with the right mindset, and don't, hopefully we're not too banged up from the TCU game, so our guys are feeling good and have the balance to their step that they're going to need to go perform well on the road. I think we can go 2-0, and so that's obviously the goal. If we come out 1-1. I'm not sure where that would kind of leave us in the pecking order right now in the Big 12. Like I said, right now we're sitting at 10th, but we need to move up a little bit. So I think it's 2 winnable games, but we got to make sure we're with the right mindset. If we don't have the right mindset, obviously things can go south pretty quickly. So hopefully our guys are ready.
You mentioned it though. The focus right now is on TCU, and Jerome Ting mentioned that on Thursday that he thinks that we all think it's a cliche, but this team treats every game like it's its one season. Go 1-0 in practice, in the film study, in the game. And so, me and you right here, Clint, we can talk about that Texas game, but that's not even on the mind of this team right now. They want to go 1-0 and then go 1-0 against Texas, right? So,
yeah, that's always been the mindset, right? Is what's next, and what's next is TCU, and that's at home and protecting home court, and also anytime you play at home, you want to play well for the community and for the fans to come out and pay their money to come watch the team, right? And so you got to put on a show, for them, and hopefully our guys are locked into doing that. And if we can do that, then we'll move on to Texas and move on to on the road. It's a quick turnaround. And flying out there, I'm sure we'll probably leave right after the game on Saturday. Get down there sometime Saturday night to have preparation on Sunday and then play Monday. So 2 games, it's 1-0 against TCU, and then we'll move on to the next one.
So K-State played on Saturday against BYU. You have 5 days off, and so yeah, it may be unfortunate that you got to go on the road on Monday, a short turnaround, but you mentioned it, Clint. They should have fresh legs. Hopefully you're not banged up. Knock on wood that no injuries happen in that TCU game. But it lined up nicely. You have a quick turnaround, but you should be fresh. Overall, K-State I think had a few days off. Jerome Ting said that they always have like 1 day off a week. That's what he wants to do for his players, for his staff, stuff like that. So he said the first practice back on that would have been Wednesday was maybe a little rough, but practice yesterday on Thursday, he said they were much better, locked in. Got the rust out of them, and so they should be well rested here, not only for this game against TCU, not only against Texas on the road, but going down the stretch, these final 7 games. K-State, I think this was a much needed break and maybe perhaps a reset over this final stretch.
Yeah, and it'll be good. And because we'll play Saturday and Monday, then I believe we'll play again to the following Saturday. And so,
Yep.
it'll be, 2 games that are in a row, but then you'll have another, 5 days off, right, to kind of rest up that needs to be rested up and prepare for the next one. So, hopefully we'll be good down the stretch and a little bit of the off time that we did get this week and that we will get next week can hopefully help us just kind of reset and focus in on what it is that we need to do to go finish strong in the Big 12 regular season and prepare us for the Big 12 tournament. And then, like I said, hopefully the NCAA tournament as well.
I'm not sure, Clint, how much you have looked at the overall resume for Kansas State, but Jerome Tang's been, he's said that 9 wins for any Big 12 team is deserving to get to the NCAA tournament. And he doubled down on in his press conference on Thursday that 9 wins, maybe even a team with 7 or 8 wins is going to be able to get in. I don't know how much you've looked at the overall resume, but it just doesn't necessarily look as good as maybe we once thought it did, especially when you look at the non-conference. The USC loss just doesn't look good. The Miami loss, the Hurricanes aren't as good as we thought they would be. The wins over Providence and Villanova, neither one of those are quadrant ones. And so, yeah, if you win 9 games in the Big 12, that is certainly it's impressive to do. And I'm not disagreeing with Jerome Tang, but when you look at it, K-State's not even on the bubble right now. They're not even on that next 4 out. You look at bracketology, they've got some work to do. So do you think that 9 wins is going to be able to get K-State in?
Well, I think, it might be 9 wins and a win in the Big 12 tournament, or a win or 2, which I think is very doable as well.
Yeah.
But like I said, some of the wins we've had, or I should say some of the losses we've had, early on don't look as good as we would have hoped they would have looked at this point in time in the season. But I think what's been consistent, and hopefully the NCAA committee can see this. I mean, the Big 12 it's the toughest conference in America, and we have a lot of parity in the conference. When you look at some of our top teams and the losses they've had, within the conference, it just shows that any given night. That any team can beat any team. And so I believe it's the toughest conference. And so hopefully that'll play well for us. If we get to 9 wins, I would think out of 14 teams, we at least get 7 or 8 in. So that's kind of the goal. Right now we're sitting at 10. So we have work to do, but if we can get to that 8th spot, then, and then like I said, also win a game or 2 in the Big 12 tournament, then I think we'll be good.
Is that where you want to be as a program, needing to win in Kansas City? And I'm not, especially when you lose Naquan Tomlin and Quez Glover's out for the year, that's kind of just the circumstances of the season. But do you think deep down Jerome Tang expected more out of this bunch, or is that kind of where they want to be, just try to get to 9 games, win in Kansas City, and sneak into the tournament?
Well, yeah, I think when you start the season and you have Tomlin and you're looking forward to having Glover, it's a very different feel and expectation that you have as a staff. Then obviously losing Tomlin and Glover not being able to play, you just kind of have to reset expectation. But it doesn't mean that, from a mindset perspective that, oh, well, now we lost those 2 guys, we can't. No, we're still, we're going to figure out a way to go do it. And other guys are going to have to step up and play well. And obviously we had some young guys get, thrust into lineups that, especially early on, that maybe they wouldn't have gotten. And so the expectation really, even though, it might change a little bit based upon, what we thought we had, the expectation of making the tournament, that has never changed. It's, we're going to figure out what the guys we have, and we're going to go do it, So, I think, the ultimate goal is to get in the tournament. Once you get in the tournament, anything can happen. We saw that last year, right? We got in and then obviously made it to the Elite Eight, and no one had us in the Elite Eight unless you're a K-State fan or a K-State alum, right? So, it's just we got to figure out a way to get in, and then to do that, we got to win some basketball games down the stretch. We have the guys that can do it. We have the experience that can do it with some of our older guys, with Kaluma and Cam Carter and Perry. But we have to get them all playing well at the right time, and then we have to make some shots, and obviously we got to get stops, continue to get stops defensively. What we can't have happen is kind of what happened against BYU, where we have Carter and Perry both go 1 for 14. I mean, it's going to be hard for us to win if those guys, aren't on par with their shooting and shooting the ball, as well as they know they can, as well as we need them to. So as long as those guys can be locked in and make some shots from the outside, I think everything else will take care of itself.
Okay, Clint, we'll wrap it up with this. Put you on the spot here. Does Kansas State make the NCAA tournament or not?
Yes, book it. We're going to get in. So, like I said, it's a big game on Saturday. We're going to take care of business at home. Go 1-0. That'll propel us into Monday against Texas. And like I said, I think we have a good shot at winning that basketball game. We do that, and then we'll get some rest, and we'll play well down the stretch. So we'll be in.
It is a must-win game on Saturday, according to the former K-State guard, Clint Stewart. Should be a lot of fun. And then, of course, K-State plays Texas on Monday on the road in Austin. That one coming up at 8 o'clock Central. Clint, appreciate your time. As always, man, hopefully we're breaking down some wins. If not, if K-State loses, we'll break down what went wrong for the Wildcats. Clint, appreciate your time. As always, we'll talk to you next week, man.
All right. Sounds good.
This has been a GoPowerCat.com and Spirit Street production. Please support this show by subscribing to this YouTube channel or follow us on your favorite podcast platform.